Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into the She Can Ball podcast. I'm your host, Mahi Jariwala. Today, we're joined by Mia Mabanag of North Central University's women's basketball. How did college basketball go, and what's kind of the summer plans for you right now?
My first year was really good. It was fun, definitely a learning experience, a lot of ups and downs. But obviously I'm grateful for that. And so this summer I'm kind of taking it to improve my game and just kind of relax, because I know what college basketball is like. So I feel more prepared for next year. Now it's kind of just fixing the little things.
And
So.
what has the summer kind of looked like for you?
A lot of training so far, um, a lot of lifting and then like basketball, of course. And I've been also, working and finding time to spend with friends. So
And what does that lifting seem like? Because I feel like a lot of people talk about how much bigger that gets when you get to college.
yeah, lifting in college, at first I thought it would be like a lot of like heavy lifting, like try to put on as much weight as you can, but it's more for like power and balance and injury prevention. That's kind of a really big thing, especially in women's basketball. And in women's sports in general, you see a lot of ACL tears. So injury prevention is definitely one of the biggest parts of lifting. So stretching before and after workouts, or even doing some resistant band stuff to keep the knees stable and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what lifting is more about. So
Very cool. And when do you go back?
I go back in like 2 weeks, I think, 2, 3 weeks, something like that.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
soon.
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to come back to your college kind of experience, but I always start interviews by kind of going back to the beginning. So Mia, when did you first get into basketball?
Um, I first started playing basketball when I was probably 10 years old. So that's like fourth, fifth grade. I like, my friends, most of the time it was a mix of like boys and girls. And so football was like the thing. And then once basketball season hit, I kind of discovered like the Warriors, obviously, because we're in the Bay Area. And like it just became a really big thing during recess. So I started learning more about it and started asking my teachers about it too. And there was one teacher who used to he would play with us during recess, so he started teaching me, just basic things like dribbling and like layups. And so I kind of took that information home, told my parents I wanted to start basketball, and they signed me up for camps. And then I discovered AAU and kind of just went from there.
When do you think you started getting really serious about basketball?
Really serious. I want to say I've always been pretty serious because I've always just stuck to basketball. I was never a kid who wanted to do multiple sports. But I want to say eighth grade, ninth grade, I started taking it more serious, like started doing personal trainings, started lifting weights, kind of getting more into like what else goes into basketball besides just showing up for your practices.
And then you transferred after your freshman year, right?
Yes, I did.
So what was that experience of just going into high school basketball and then because I feel like there was always adjustment going from eighth
Mm,
grade to freshman year and then having
yeah.
another adjustment of freshman year to sophomore year because you're changing schools.
Mhm. Yeah, so the adjustment obviously from middle school to high school, it was a little scary obviously because, any kid going from one grade level to the next that's a change. And so then changing high schools from Doherty to Monte Vista was also scary because I felt like I was sacrificing my social life. I mean, freshman year at Doherty, those were all my friends I had throughout middle school. And then going to Monte Vista, I felt like I gave up that social life. So making friends was definitely hard for me, at least transferring. But it was helpful to obviously, have friends on the basketball team. And my friendships in basketball kind of grew. And so the social life wasn't really a worry for me the next years, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
talk to us just about that experience of playing. So for those who don't know, Monte Vista, a lot of the girls had known each other since they were really young with AAU
Mm.
because we had that big transfer that your sophomore year of high school. So what was just playing with these girls that you've known since fifth
Yeah.
grade?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, it was definitely it was really fun and I miss it a lot because, like, we just knew each other so well on the court and off the court because, I mean, like you said, we had been playing together since we were in, like, 5th, 6th grade, and so then to kind of, like, once we all graduated, we all went to our different colleges to kinda look back on those memories and be like, wow, like, I can't believe, we did all of that. Um, and, like, because we knew each other so well, I loved it because I felt like we were able to hold each other accountable on the court and off the court. And it was definitely like I just felt like I grew with them. I mean, obviously I grew up with them, but then my game kind of expanded with them too once we hit high school.
That's amazing. And, I think that like there's not that many people that can say that they had all three seniors because all of our three seniors went on to play college basketball, which was just so cool to have a team that was so dedicated to the game of basketball that like everyone who's graduating is going on to play at that next level.
Mhm. Yeah, that was pretty impressive too, and then also we're all playing different college levels, so, I mean, this summer, right when we got back, we all went out for lunch, and we kinda just caught up and talked about our different experiences, but it was all kinda similar with, like, that adjustment from high school to college is a little bit scary at first, and then, just learning to be patient with, learning about the coaches, the system, the other players on the team, because we realized we're not like just going into like another senior year where we're all comfortable with each other already. Everything was kind of a learning experience for us.
And so did you play point guard in college?
Yeah, my main position is shooting guard, but I did play point guard a little bit. And I played point guard more towards the end of the season. Yeah, my coach had talked to me about that. She was like, "Are you comfortable playing point guard?" And I was like, "Honestly, no, because it's not my main position." So, but she kind of just eased me into it. And then at the end of the season, I was playing it so often I didn't even realize like I was nervous about it or that it was kind of a newer position for me to learn. So, yeah.
Because one other thing about our high school team, like since we had known each other so well, like there weren't that many set plays because a lot of these
Yeah.
kids had played together for so long, and it was kind of like the AAU type of vibe where a lot of them played on the same AAU team. So it was like we all knew what we needed to do and kind of got it done. But like, what was moving into a college where it's a lot more like systematic?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, like you said in high school, because I knew the players on the team so well and they knew me, we knew how to like work around each other really well and literally communicate without having to actually verbally communicate because we just knew each other that well. So in college, yeah, everything's going to be a lot more systematic. You're gonna have to be a lot more vocal because I mean, as soon as you get there, you start working out, and you only have 2 to 3 months before your first game hits. So you really need to figure out how everyone works. You need to figure out how you can work in the system. Because I mean, I saw this really good video, this quote. Bradley Beal, I forgot, I don't know what team he plays for now, but NBA player. He was talking to a bunch of kids at his camp, and he was saying that once you get to college, not everyone's going to be a scorer. So you have to figure out what you can do to impact the game and help your team. And so I felt like, learning the system and then seeing how I can implement my game was how I was able to help my team this year.
And you were averaging 10 points a game. And then you had like that game high against Bethany Lutheran. Like what was that game like? Let's start there.
um, yeah, that game, I believe it was later in the season. We needed to win that to um, get home court advantage for the UMAC championship. So it was a big deal. And then we're also bouncing back from I think we had a loss the night before. So we kind of had to rally together and we told each other like, hey, like everything needs to be sharp, it needs to be on point. And then also just kind of reminding each other that if one of us gets down during the game, we have each other's back. And so going into that game, I had the same mindset of like, I'm going to get a bucket. I'm going to help my team in whatever way I can. And so, when I hit the first few shots, it kind of just went from there. I just felt more confident to get my shot up from anywhere. And then also, more confident to like, you know, more confident on every part of the game, like playing defense, getting my teammates open. So, yeah, that was a good game.
succeeding that well as like a freshman is really hard. And so like what do you think kind of like went into that?
Um, yeah, the summer before, I was definitely super nervous, super anxious, and I felt like that played a part in, like, a good way because I was so anxious, I held myself accountable to go get the shots up, go make sure I went out for my run, go to training, go to lift, because, like, in my mind, it wasn't like, like, "You're gonna fail," but it's like, you need to go when you're freshman year, make an impact, kinda make a statement about who you are as a player, so I kinda kept that, with me, that energy with me as I went to my workouts, and then finally, when I went to Minnesota and we first started playing open gyms and our workouts, I was like, I just kept that same energy with me, and then I just started to get more comfortable, the deeper we got into preseason and then, of course, into season. So, yeah, that was kind of my mindset.
Because that's one thing that I've always loved about your game is like how poised it is, and like no matter like what the situation is, you can count Mia to go in there and just play her game, and then that's like amazing.
Thank you.
Like one other thing is just like your work ethic, because I think that like no matter the situation, no matter what was going on, like you were always willing to like pull up and do the work. And like where do you think that comes from for you?
Um, Yeah, I feel like it comes from my basketball trainer, Coach Kenyatta Madison. I mean, you know him too. He's now the coach for Team Kid. But like him being my first personal trainer and like just I mean, he's been my personal trainer since I was in the 5th grade. It was kind of just ingrained in my mind from like day one when I started really getting serious about it that like, you need to put in the work. Um, if you want to be good, if you want to succeed at this level and that level. And then it also came from my parents too. My dad used to take me to the court all the time and he would teach me, different layups, or he'd say, you need to work on this. And I would fight him obviously because he's my dad. So I didn't really want to listen to him, but I knew he was right. And I know he's always right. And everything, he's mentioned now is a part of my game now. And then, of course, my mom too. I mean, she isn't like super sports and athletic, but she's just super supportive and she loves watching basketball. So just even though sometimes she doesn't know what she's talking about, it's helpful to know that she's really supportive and like she's always gonna be like go Mia for like the rest of her life. And then of course my two younger brothers just being there too, coming to my games, so that just having a support system has always kept me going and always kept me working hard.
And what was like that recruitment process of you like going to North Central?
Yeah, so I mean, you know this too. I was first committed to Crown College, so that's in St. Bonifacius, Minnesota. I was under the same coaching staff. They made a move like towards the end of the summer to North Central University, really sudden. I thought, I wasn't gonna have a coach until I got there. I was kind of panicking too. I was like, where am I supposed to go? But they called me and they're like, hey, you want to come to North Central too? And I was like, well, if my coaches are leaving, I gotta leave too. So I went with them. Best decision I made going with them because I mean, they recruited me for my entire senior year basically. And so like I built that trust with them, that relationship with them. And so whatever move they make, I trust them and whatever they're gonna tell me to fix in my game or to improve on or anything I'm doing good or bad, I'm going to trust them with that too. But the recruitment process was definitely difficult. But once I found the coach that I have now and that relationship just grew, I mean, I'm so thankful for it. So,
With your recruitment, like you were looking to apply to some schools and you were just kind of like unsure? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that might be in that situation. Like, what do you think kind of like tipped the boat for you where you're like, I really want to go play?
yeah, for me, senior year, I mean, I just didn't even know if I wanted to play. I was pretty set on like senior year at Monte Vista, I'm gonna finish this and like I'm never picking up a basketball again. But again, going back to having such a big support system, I mean, I just had so many people telling me like, how are you not gonna play college basketball? I mean, you work so hard. I would love to see you blossom at this level too. Um, that was good. And then also kind of just looking inwards and be like, do I really want to just go to a school be an average student and not have this experience of playing college basketball. So I kind of took that and then I was like, okay, yeah, like let's just try it for a year. I obviously loved it, so I'm going back next year. And then for anyone going through the recruitment process, I think the biggest thing is going to be being patient and just your time will come, and even if you feel like you're not getting offers, you feel like you're not going to be good enough at that level. I just want anyone who's listening to know that there's a bunch of schools out there. There's a bunch of levels out there besides D3, D2, D1. There's a lot of places for you to play. You just have to be patient and reach out to schools because someone will get back to you. So that's how I met my school too.
And like in terms of scheduling, like what is D3? What is like the time commitment like? How would you like talked about kind of like getting to talk to Alexis and Sarah, which are our old teammates from Monta Vista, and they play D2 and D1 basketball. So you kind of have an idea of like the difference of it in terms of levels.
Yeah, so I definitely there is a little bit of a difference in the scheduling, especially from like D3 to D1. There are like NCAA rules, I believe, too, about like when you can do like preseason stuff with the coaches watching. So I know D1, Sarah, University of Idaho, she didn't really get to come home for breaks. I mean, she came home for a few days Christmas, and even then, I didn't even get to see her until we came back for the summer. Alexis, I mean, kind of the same thing. She didn't really come home until like maybe a little bit Thanksgiving, a little bit of Christmas. But D3, it was a lot more flexible. I did come home for breaks, but it still wasn't like extended. It was probably maybe 3 to 5 days at most. And then because of March Madness, no spring break. Um, yeah, so it's definitely a lot. It's definitely a commitment. But it's just so helpful, like having such a good team and like such great coaches. Like you kind of forget that like maybe you're homesick or maybe you want to go home and you want to have breaks. But I mean, I'm just so grateful to just have such great teammates and a great coaching staff that are gonna, make sure I have fun no matter the circumstance. So yeah.
I know, and you move pretty far. Like, how long
The
is it?
plane ride to Minnesota, um, it's like 4 hours. It's not bad. I just
Okay.
fall asleep. Sleep for 4 hours, then I'm in Minnesota.
What's because I know it's like super snowy and stuff there. Like, was it just like a really big change for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, California's like I mean, it rains, but it doesn't snow unless you go to, like, Tahoe or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Minnesota, so, I mean, it snows everywhere. Yeah, I just got a big jacket, got some boots. I was good, and I actually really enjoy the snow until it hit, like, maybe March. I was like, "I'm tired of it."
I remember when you first came back from like that visit, like you were like, "Oh my God, like I love the snow," and you were like so happy. I remember Alexis was like, "Girl, if she doesn't commit here, like I don't know where she's gonna go."
Yeah, that was funny.
So, like, lastly, what advice do you have for like young kids that may want to pursue basketball at a high level?
Um, my advice to them would just be trust the process. I mean, it's that simple. Whether it's, your game isn't where you want it to be at. I mean, it's going to get there in the next few years as long as you just keep putting in the work. You keep being patient. You just keep trusting yourself and the process. You kind of just have faith in the work you're putting in. Your game is going to grow. You'll grow. You'll be more confident on and off the court. So that would kind of be my advice to them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mia. I appreciate it.
Of course.